Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Louise Hobart begins now.
Good evening, everyone. Tributes are flowing for Michael Hawkes, the man allegedly murdered at Reedy Marsh on Tuesday night. The 70-year-old was a former parliamentary driver, today remembered by colleagues.
Michael Hawkes, a friend and colleague, today remembered by those still coming to terms with tragedy.
He was a quiet personality, pleasant personality. Over the period of time that he was with me, I got to know him quite well.
It's alleged the 70-year-old was murdered on his bush property at Reedy Marsh on Tuesday night. Mr Hawkes spent much of his life on the road as a former parliamentary driver. Among others, he drove for Don Wing when he first became a politician.
I was very shocked, and I'd like to extend my deep sympathy to Michael's wife over this tragedy.
The close-knit Meander Valley community left shaken.
There's certainly been some angst in the last couple of days, especially when people in that area didn't know where this said person was.
Support already being offered to those he worked alongside.
There are some drivers that are obviously very well known to this deceased driver. We know that we're providing support to those drivers. They are a close-knit group of workers.
This afternoon, 47-year-old Waverley man Robert Gerard was charged with Mr Hawkes' murder. The accused appeared briefly in the Launceston Magistrates Court, where the matter was adjourned without plea. Josh Duggan, 7 Tasmania News.
Tasmania's hospitals have been hit by another wave of chronic ambulance ramping. There's concern the situation will grow worse after a severe surge level was declared overnight.
Stuck with nowhere to go. For the past week, paramedics have been paralysed by ramping. The situation escalating last night when a severe surge level was declared in the south.
Well, surge level 4 is as bad as it gets. The reality is that there is no surge level beyond 4. It's an internal disaster, all hands at the wheel.
Claims also surfacing of astonishing wait times for some call-outs.
There were people in the community waiting up to 4 hours for an ambulance to respond to them. Nobody calls an ambulance unless they're in significant need of one.
In Hobart, there's concern the new K block hasn't fixed bed block, while Launceston is facing similar struggles.
By the end of this year, LGH will be in a terrible position because there are simply no beds there, and the Royal will be back to where we were prior to K block and probably worse.
Sarah Courtney says the state government is looking at solutions across the health system to take the pressure off, but admits the picture is far from perfect.
I know that for those that are working in those circumstances, as well as visitors to our hospitals, having bed block can add to stress and anxiety. So it's my priority to make sure that we're taking action.
Old problems in a new year. Sean McComish, 7 Tasmania News.
14 people in Tasmania have been forced back into isolation after they quarantined inside a Brisbane hotel linked to a COVID outbreak. The returned overseas travellers all received negative results but are now isolating in the state as a precautionary measure. Among them, 10 crew members currently quarantining on Incat's new Bucko Reef catamaran, originally scheduled to depart for Trinidad and Tobago today. The voyage will be delayed until the crew is cleared. And in a year of unprecedented disruption, Hobart's rental market remained the tightest in the country. A new Domain report revealed in the past 3 months, house rents were steady, increasing to an average of $460 a week. But unit prices fell slightly compared with last year, the first time there's been an annual drop since mid-2013. Domain is warning rents are likely to rise once more as the vacancy rate begins to fall. The chance to take your car or motorbike on board the Spirit of Tasmania for free has seen a rush for tickets. More than 6,000 were snapped up between midnight and 9 this morning after the deal went live. The offer is in place for sailings from March 1 until June 30. It's hoped the plan will boost visitor numbers into the state after tourism struggled through the pandemic. Boundary-pushing arts festival Foma is preparing to take centre stage in Launceston. In a huge win for the tourism sector, a large portion of tickets have already been sold interstate, but the event will look very different to past years.
Once the home of all things automobile, now it holds art. Launceston's old car museum roaring back to life for an eerie Foma exhibition.
We've had the pleasure of taking over a space that has been somewhat abandoned for the last 8 months and transforming it totally.
A collection of works inspired by the environment.
Here we've got 3 artists who have been brought together because they're all approaching ecological concerns.
This just a small gaze into the minds of some 350 artists on the bill. But organisers are under no illusion this year will not be the same as previous editions.
It has been an eye-opener to organise this festival.
No international headliners, no festival hubs, no mosh pits. Rather, 58 venues will host small-scale, intimate shows across Launceston and Hobart the following weekend.
We're sticking with a smaller capacity so people are comfortable, safe and manageable.
Along with capacity limits, QR code check-ins and social distancing will also be enforced.
It's a team effort for Tasmanians to be able to keep on top of COVID.
One dance group no stranger to the claw of COVID-19 is Launceston Stompin'. Their upcoming festival performance was scheduled for early last year, but was abruptly put on hold by the pandemic.
The dancers have been kind of stewing on it for a year, and we've all been really eager and keen to get it up and running.
Of all the tickets sold, 40% have been snapped up by interstate tourists.
We certainly couldn't have expected any of the stuff that we've faced leading into this event, but here we are.
The first major festival of 2021 right here in Tasmania. The action begins tomorrow. Garth Burley, 7 Tasmania News.
Construction on a new $5 million police station in the Derwent Valley is officially underway. Demolition of the old New Norfolk headquarters has kicked off, with the project expected to create several much-needed jobs in the region.
The old New Norfolk police station crumbling down. No longer fit for purpose.
Well, to be quite honest, it was old and decrepit. The station is past its use-by date.
Demolition on the station, built more than 50 years ago, finally beginning this morning.
So it's a full demolition. The complete building will be removed from the foundation system, and then construction will start in the next month.
Making room for a new $5 million purpose-built facility to help police service the demands of a growing community.
We have additional housing and community projects within the area, and being able to have a modern contemporary police station means that we can service our core functions.
By the end of this year, we will have a new Norfolk police station housing the police officers from this part of the world.
The project is expected to generate around 40 jobs within New Norfolk when fit-out work begins.
We have a number of the local tradesmen working on the project, but we'll also be assisting the local community by buying local materials through the hardware store here and shopping local with the lunches and amenity.
The area's police force will continue working through the process based at a temporary premises. Meg Sides, 7 Tasmania News.
After years of advocacy, Tasmania's first dedicated greyhound exercise area is officially open. Inside Launceston's Heritage Forest, the off-leash park allows the breed to run free, something previously not possible due to strict state laws.
Well, it's like any dog. People like to take their dog to have a run and to exercise. We haven't been able to do that just purely because they're greyhounds, for no other reason but the name of the breed.
People have their fear of greyhounds with their dogs and the smaller dogs with the larger dogs, so it's a combination of how people feel. Some of it may not be real, but it's still in people's minds, so to keep it separate is the way to go.
The redeveloped site also includes a separate area for vulnerable dogs, including for small and older animals and those recovering from injury.
The Hobart Football Club's women's side has fallen over after 3 years in the SFLW. The Tigers are concerned the rapid growth of women's football is putting too much pressure on clubs to retain players, a squeeze which could be exacerbated if a proposed Old Scholars Women's League goes ahead and rules around player movements aren't reformed.
The participant numbers are growing, and they're growing quite rapidly. The number of senior women's teams are growing as well, and I think that the lack of, the forethought and the administrative rules around the competition, around player movement in particular, have been a factor in that. We want to see existing women's teams be able to be competitive and to sustain numbers. And the growth of the number of senior women's teams at the moment has made that difficult for some existing clubs.
Hobart is also critical of AFL Tasmania, saying the body has failed to provide the resources and stability needed to keep existing teams viable. In response, AFL Tasmania says it anticipates further growth this year and is assembling a women's football advisory group while working with regional leagues on a structure moving forward.
Good evening, Cressy and Hobart. Our top today, 25 degrees, Launceston 24, Burnie 22 and Devonport 23. Good that the winds dropped a bit too today. Friendly Beaches 24, Bushy Park reached 23, Lowhead and Grove 21, Flinders Island 20, King Island 19, Strawn a bit cooler on 18 degrees. We did have extensive low cloud over our west, some patchy cloud elsewhere across the state, but mainly clear and pretty easy to get around today. Nice and comfortable. Frontal cloud bands are to the west and east of the state. A cold pool of air following over the bight, low cloud over southern Victoria, convective cloud and thunderstorms over the tropical north. Tomorrow we see the next front has passed through and off to the east as a low pressure zone moves in. A high maintains a ridge over the bight and the trough still active over the mainland. Variable winds over the east and south at 10 to 15 knots, southwest and northwest winds at 25 knots over northern waters. So we have a strong wind warning there. That's between Sandy Cape and the far north of Flinders Island. Forecast for tomorrow, Hobart, showers and 17. That's nearly 20 degrees colder than it was on Monday. Unbelievable. 16 for Huonville, Campania 17 degrees. Launceston reaching 17 as well with showers. Devonport the same, 18 the top for Georgetown. Burnie a top of 17, showers clearing, 17 very popular tomorrow. Strawn and Wynyard also on that number. St Helens showers and 18 degrees, 17 back again for Swansea and Port Arthur. UV down a notch, that's to 10 tomorrow and still very high. On Saturday, showers over the central, west and south of the state. The wind's freshening on Sunday with a mostly cloudy day on the cards, and on Monday windy and partly cloudy, a shower over the west. Partly cloudy and 32 in Perth tomorrow, 21 in Adelaide, showers forecast for Melbourne, becoming windy in Sydney but fine, a sunny 31 in Brisbane. Little cloudy over Hobart, 20 at the moment. Launceston sunny and 21. Mostly sunny at the moment in Devonport and 20 degrees. The temperature's still holding up at the moment, Lou, but a bit of a change tomorrow. You might even be breaking out that puffer jacket of yours, I reckon.
Not again, I only just packed it away. Thanks for that, Murph. Finally tonight, a furry Tassie local has found a new home on the mainland. 3-year-old Dara is now out of quarantine and enjoying life at her new home at Wildlife at Sydney Zoo. She's one of just 20,000 endangered Tasmanian devils left in the world. Dara's been out and about exploring her new habitat and said to be getting on very well with her roommate Bub. And that's all your news for now. I'll be back later on with updates. Thanks so much for joining us. Good night.